Welcome, everybody. It's Crafters Tavern once again. It's the fourth Friday of the month, 8 p.m. Eastern. And joining me once again is DM Scotty. How are you, my friend?
Hey, it's been a while.
It has been a while, yes. I've been doing a few of these solo.
Yeah, I know.
Starting to get the band back together.
Yeah.
So firstly, obviously, everyone will notice that it's looking a little bit different to what it normally looks like. I am not in my broadcast central station. So I'm having to do this from my mobile phone. So expect all manner of problems to occur. But this is probably one of the smoothest broadcasts because I'm not using all my equipment.
People are like, oh, you should do it this way.
No, you should do it this way all the time. So, yes, unfortunately, it won't be the normal live call in. I'm going to ask Scotty if you can please share the link with the admin group, because I said to them that I would do that
Okay.
on Facebook so that we can get some of the guys from there to come on. So yeah, I can't actually see the comments. So Scotty, if there's any questions, he will be looking at the comments and relaying the questions to the both of us and anybody else that comes through from the admin group. And when I say the admin group, I mean from the Tabletop Crafters Guild Facebook page. Yes, thank you everyone who has joined us. There are already 20 viewers, which is quite good for a Crafters Tavern. Normally we start with about 5 and it picks up about halfway in, but we've started quite well now. So we're already at a good plus. And John has just joined us, Dungeons and Glue Sticks. How are you, John?
Very good, very good. How are you?
Good. And V has joined us from the Crafting Muse. How are you?
Hello, can you hear us?
Hello.
There she is.
There she is.
Awkward delay.
No, it was like the spinning wheel of death. So I was like, oh crap.
So this is being broadcast halfway around the world from a mobile phone. So yeah,
I'm like the furthest one from you, I think, right?
Probably. So yeah, if I can't see the comments, so if anyone can grab any of the comments that are coming through and just relay them to the rest of us, that would be fantastic.
I'm watching them.
Sure.
I would start the show by thanking everyone for all the support and everything for the Tabletop Crafters Guild as we begin this year. And one of the exciting things we wanted to kick off with is the Guild Build Craft Off, which will be a monthly crafting competition. And it's open to everyone. There'll be 2 categories, an open category and a kids category. So the open category is for anyone, and the kids category is for anyone who's under the age of 13, but your parent or guardian would have to enter for you. Now, details of what the whole thing is, how you enter and all that sort of thing, will be a video that I'll be putting out tomorrow, your time, but today my time. So tomorrow there will be a video on how to actually enter, but essentially each month is going to be, there'll be a specific household item that we will come up with, and we will say you need to make a craft that includes this household item. And so that will be the theme for the month. And then at the end of the month, the Tabletop Crafters Guild Masters will select the top 5 entries, and those will be voted on YouTube. So this won't be involving Facebook. So people who are not on Facebook or aren't on forums, who aren't on Twitter or whatever, all of this is going to be handled through YouTube. So there'll be a poll put up on one of the 4 channels, and you'll be able to vote for the winner for each month. So this is going to be quite exciting. We hopefully will get quite a few entries in the first month. We are all enthusiastic in terms of the kids category as well. So if you do have kids that you craft with, we encourage you to enter their work as well, so that we can show that off to the rest of the crafting public. So after all that, how is everybody? Scotty?
Cold.
How are you?
Oh, sorry.
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's just starting this new year, with my crafts, my games continuing, having a lot of fun with it. And I'm kind of doing something new this year. I'm going to be at some conventions, and I want to do like a sci-fi game instead of a fantasy. So I'm actually going to do like 15 millimeter. So that should be interesting challenge for me. So I'm looking forward to that, and looking forward to sharing the crafts of that.
Great. And V, how are you?
I'm doing well. You?
Great. I'm on holiday, so everything is rush. That's why we're.
Sure.
Did you hit the 1,500 yet? I hadn't looked at your.
Yep, got 1,500. So the contest for my group's actually started up, and that's going to get released to everyone else tomorrow because I promised them a 48-hour lead. But I'll put it on the Instagram account and then spread it to the other groups so that everyone can participate. And it's basically a different style challenge. It's more a diorama setup, and they have to pull in some things from there. But more details tomorrow.
So check out Crafting Muse. If you haven't subscribed yet, you should go and check out his content. It's fantastic. Dungeons and Books, John, how are you?
Oh, hey. Pretty good. Actually, the channel's doing real well now that I started doing tutorials again, finally.
Concept.
People have been complaining about that. But, yeah, everything's been doing real well otherwise.
Great. And so what's your subscriber count? I can't remember.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Your subscriber count, is it
3,300 and change.
So I'm a little bit off, sorry.
Okay.
In other words, I think it should be a lot more.
Oh, I got you. Oh, yeah, of course. So should Vanessa's. Everybody's.
Absolutely.
More the better.
Absolutely. I'd like to say there are a lot of new channels.
I got her.
Nothing.
There are a lot of new channels that are starting up, and if you start a new channel, please contact one of us so that we know that your channel exists and that we can share it and we can add it to our list of channels as well.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't even start one. Do yourself a favor.
You're so grumpy.
You don't understand the hell you're going to put yourself in.
And finally, is that Lee on the other? It
is.
Looks like it's Matt.
Yeah. Nice camera there.
How are you doing, man?
Good, doing good. Getting my shop set up, getting people together, doing the networking. So
excellent. So that's Lee Eddings from DM Insomnia. You have been watching regularly, you know who Lee is, and Lee is also one of the admins on the Tabletop Crafters Guild Facebook page. So have we got any questions or comments from the 27 viewers in the chat?
Not that I've seen. It's a lot of hellos so far. Did you catch one, John?
Not yet. So far, everybody's complaining about me.
Well, let's kind of set it up here. My idea for tonight was kind of like we're kind of a unique group in that we, use terrain in our games. And what I thought would be kind of a cool topic for tonight was like GMing or DMing and using terrain in your games, because it is Game Master Month, so the end of Game Master Month, but it's Game Master Month, so I thought that might be a cool topic to talk about.
Yeah, so let's start with V, because she actually games with her family. So how do you use terrain in that kind of game?
A lot of it because our kids are both under the age of, well, one's 10 now, still wrapping my head around that one. But because it's 10 and under, they're so visual. So we absolutely need to make sure we have something on the table for them to lock onto and start the process of them getting into the game. There have been a couple times we've done, theater of the mind, and they're good if as long as like a 5-minute stint. If you want them to sit there and fully engage and play and last, having the terrain there and moving it around and giving them different bits of terrain, it keeps them engaged. It keeps them wanting to see, well, where are we going to go next? What are we going to do next? So with kids, terrain's almost necessary, especially with certain ages, because it gives them that visual to cue them to start using their imagination and to immerse themselves more into it, because it's there. They can touch it. They can see it. They can interact with it.
Okay, and so you plan the adventures around the terrain, or you do the terrain around the adventure?
David writes up the adventure first, and then he and I will have a sit down and talk about what he needs for what's coming up. So I already know there's about 3 different things I need to start creating for our campaign to get us ready for the next few campaign sessions that we have coming up. So it's kind of a symbiotic partnership where he comes up with a game idea and where we're going to go with it. And because he knows where we're going with it, he'll give me the heads up of like, I needed this, I needed that, I needed this. Can you come up with it for me? Or we'll sit down and we'll actually make the pieces together. Like he'll do the bigger pieces with the proxen and I'll sit down and I'll do like the finer details with it once it's done. So it's a lot of conversation ahead of time and planning ahead of time for our games, as opposed to just sitting down and just kind of pulling from the shelves. We're still building what we have as it is.
So there's a lot more prep involved with kids than there would be if you were playing with adults?
Yes, there's a little bit more prep because you also need to think about how they think. Because one of them will be like, oh, look, we did the, what was it? We had a pair of wolves sitting in front of the cave for the last campaign session. And one wanted to shoot right away without thinking. And it was like, but I want to see if they're friendly. So you have to not only think about, okay, assume that they're not going to go right ahead and kill them, but where are these wolves going to go if they decide that they want to befriend them and they want to tame them and have them come along? And so you almost need to compensate and get yourself to think like a smaller, eager, younger child. And that gives you the advantage of thinking about where they're going to go with something. And it takes away the, oh crap, I didn't think of that factor, which they can sometimes pull out still, even though you're trying to prep ahead of time. So where you might have 3 scenarios going, I know he has about 5 set up just in case. Because they do pull some things out and you're like, I would not have even thought of that one. But they're great and they get enthusiastic.
I would assume it'd be a little bit more morally ambiguous, because when you're, taking the wolf example again, you don't know if these things are evil or good or friendly or not friendly. So, the agency of the child is going to kind of help determine which way that's going to go. So if they're more dangerous, you could then flip it and say, well, they don't look dangerous or whatever, and you can adjust it that way.
Yeah, you give them little slight clues to get them to where you kind of want to guide them a little bit, not driving them completely and railroading it, but giving them better hints, because like with the wolves, David Stockton said, they're kind of tired. They're just lying there. One's panting. He's looking kind of hungry, as opposed to they're pulling on their ropes and they're chopping and they're barking and they're lunging towards you. So they're learning from those cues that, oh, wait, let's think about what this could mean and what type of wolves we're looking at really, as opposed to let's just kill it. Granted, they still run into that sometimes because, it's 2 little boys like, yes, but for the most part, they've gotten really good about picking up on the cues and reading the NPCs more than they used to, which is kind of cool to see developing.
Have you seen them actually start to take on the skills they use from role-playing and bring in skills from things they're learning at school, like maths and reading and
completely?
And all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, both of their teachers have said how they can't believe what great team players they are now. Both are great at working with groups with other kids now, at helping their friends and guiding them. And both of their teachers were joking about how good they're at math now, because we'll have them do the calculations. Like, okay, you rolled this and you have a this. What's that going to be? And the older one's like a human calculator now. It's kind of scary. He was like, dit, 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 and he gives the answer while we're still like plugging it out. But no, it helps them in the real world. It gives them a sense of how to interact with people and how to develop socially, even though it's just a game. It's definitely got life lessons for them, and then they're applying it to real life as it is. And I mean, the older one's developing his own Pokemon Dungeons and Dragons. So definitely it influences them, and it gives them time with us, and it gives them time with each other, and it gives them time with their imagination, which a lot of kids don't get that anymore. And you see the difference, absolutely.
Once he has that developed, my youngest would definitely want to play.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, he's already in the second campaign of it. They just finished the first one, and he has like a whole stack of paper and everything. It's hysterical.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So, I mean, the key things there are you're grounding the visual aspect with the terrain. So, just to take it to an adult level, you know, when you are creating a combat scenario, or you're creating a scenario where someone has to solve a puzzle or something which is more spatial, when you have that laid out in front of you, it's a shorthand for communicating. So you don't have to communicate as much detail, and the people don't have to remember as much detail because you've placed the terrain down in front of them. So if you walk into a 20 by 20-foot room, and then 10 minutes later, you know, after there's been toing and froing and drinking some beer and laughing, they can't remember how big the room is again, what's in the room. You then got to re-describe the room, re-describe the bed. And I mean, everyone has been through this, and the terrain is what kind of solidifies. You can just drag the game straight back in. Okay, guys, look at the table. What are you up to? And that is a key thing that I think a lot of theater of the mind people don't actually get about terrain, is that it is actually a shortcut. It's a shortcut. You have the basics with the terrain, and you add your descriptions on top of that. So the terrain, there's a table and chair in the room, and you physically have a table and chair there. And then you can describe what's on the table. You don't necessarily have to craft every single thing that's on the table, but you're giving the basic you get setup of what's actually happening right there, which is the shortcut. So what's your experience with it, John?
Oh, well, I've learned that you should definitely not try to make absolutely everything in the entire module the hard way. When I first started the channel, I was doing the Lost Mine of Phandelver game. I was trying to get everything, and you know, I would spend days and weeks on a piece that we spent like maybe minutes on in a game, and it got to the point where I quickly got burned out on it, and we actually stopped playing for quite a while. It was pretty rough, but using the terrain when I had it, oh, it was amazing. It made things so much easier, and people could visualize like fighting scenarios and stuff like that. Made things so much easier instead of the theater of the mind where you're like, okay, well, the orc is around the corner, you know, but you don't have line of sight or something like that. And having them being able to see it, and I played with my family too, mostly, and it was usually dealing with kids, and it just clicked for them so much easier than trying to do it with the theater of the mind. I keep looking at the screen, and the camera's over here.
It's one of those things where I'll bring Nathan Like into this conversation from Earl T. Gray, or Earl T. Gray is the YouTube channel. He's been building Keep on the Borderlands, the entire Keep.
Whoa.
And he started like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I know it was started before I got married, and that was more than 2 years ago. So, and he's only done one side of it. So by the time he's finished, his gaming group will be in their 60s.
There was a small time window there where I thought about doing the entire World's Largest Dungeon book. That went away real quick, let me tell you. For me, it
would have been page 1.
Yeah, if I was lucky. It was like
my experience with Under the Tavern is I only used the pieces that I had constructed on my channel, and I only used the 80-piece set because I thought, you know, if I have to build any more, a 5-level dungeon, it'll be insane. So
I built all your stuff.
Yeah,
I built all those tiles.
Yeah, so you know.
Well, I built yours, but I used Wylock's method of doing it too, all at the same time, with the card stock and everything else. The math. Yep. Oh my God.
Oh, good old measurement.
Yeah. That was difficult.
So, Lee, what's your experience with gaming with terrain?
Mine's a little different. I don't have a gaming group, so I am primarily strictly the crafter for it.
Okay.
But it's really cool when I get people who will call me or message me, and their description of what they want, you can hear their excitement for it coming up. And a few times, I've gotten feedback from them, and one guy, it was so simple. He was like, they're getting to the end of this adventure in the next couple of weeks. I need a portal for them to jump through to fight the main bad guy. And it's just a gray stone with a bunch of swirling lights in it. So, I took a few days, threw something together and sent it to him. And I got like 6 emails from his entire group, all just going off about how insane it was to have a physical representation that lit up, that had the flashing lights on their table. And he said that his 14-year-old who was in the game actually screamed and dropped his soda because it was cool. and that's the biggest thing for me. I don't get to see it immediately, but knowing that when the right piece of terrain at the right moment is set out there and it fits what they're doing, it can really amp up their excitement for that game. And just from my experience way back when I played, it does it a whole lot more than trying to imagine it, because everyone's going to imagine it different based on the description. So if my job is to
literally a touchstone that, everyone has at least one thing that they can imagine. They can kind of see one thing in there, and anything else that's described, they can work around that. But the key element is there for them to visualize from. Exactly.
And that's a lot of it. I haven't been asked to make a whole dungeon yet. It's been a lot of just key pieces for that campaign. And it's cool because I get to give physical form to what the dungeon master is envisioning. And I'll spend hours and hours and hours on Skype, on Hangouts, on the phone, doing text messages with them, sketching it out and getting it exactly how they want it. And I love it. I'd love to game. I'd love to be sitting at a table rolling dice with people. But I get so much enjoyment out of hearing how people need things and the excitement when they get it, that I can almost forget that I'm not the one gaming. So
I'm going to bring Scotty in now. So obviously you are the godfather of this whole crafting movement. And you played with your daughter via Skype while she was at college. Is that right?
Yeah, I did.
So was she able to see the terrain?
She was. It was a bit of a difficulty. It's not very easy to do, but it is doable.
So you were using a webcam on the laptop, or were you using a mobile webcam?
We were actually using a webcam on the laptop. Well, no. We used a mobile webcam so we could move it around. We had like a little tripod we could set it on and like look down at stuff and that kind of thing. So, and then she would be up on the Skype, so we could actually see her and interact with her on the laptop. So she's like a virtual person sitting there.
That's great.
I got to watch a game like that. It was awesome.
Yeah, John got to sit on a session once because he was stuck in the hotel and we were playing a game, so we got it set up. And the funny thing was, the kids were better behaved.
We gotta keep it PG.
Yeah,
I want to address something V said with the kids too. Although my kids are all grown and gone. I do have someone I game with who has a small son, and he's 6, I think, and he plays this little goblin in their game, but he doesn't have enough of attention span to like stay for the whole game. So he'll just jump in whenever he wants to, and they let him come in and, you know, do his goblin things, and then he'll get bored in like 5 or 10 minutes and then leave. And that's a great way to include them in it without having them try to sit there, you know, in a chair and pay attention to the game. So I thought I'd mention that. If somebody has really small children, that's something you could do. You could just hand wave them in. Oh, the goblin shows up or whatever. You know, he's just following you around, and then all of a sudden he acts, you know, or whatever.
Yeah. It also helps
so
to
yeah,
give
that's
them,
a good
like,
way
little
you
figures.
can bring a kid in like that. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have kids, but I would assume that if there was a second child at the table, they're more likely to stay than if it was just them and the adults, because the adults are more boring and they don't want to, you know, they're not playing the way other kids would.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Because I'm like that.
And you guys really hit on some great stuff. You know, like John was talking about the burnout, and that is a huge danger with this. You can really easily burn yourself out, and don't do that. Don't burn yourself out. I'll talk about that in a sec. But also, Lee was saying that, you know, he doesn't have a group, but he still crafts, and he crafts for another group. That's fantastic. Like, you can do this stuff even if you don't have a group. You could do this stuff, you know, and maybe at some point you will get a group, or you could do it for offer to do it for somebody else. If you know a game store or something, say, hey, I want to make terrain for you, or maybe even get a group started there. Because I guarantee once they see you set this stuff up, you're not going to have any problem getting people to play, right? When they see this terrain set up, they're gonna want to play in that game. And like, I went to the game store this last weekend, and there were 2 D&D games going on, and they've got their great looking minis, and then like a drawn map, you know. And it's just like, I'm just like, oh. You know, I'm just like, it's so sad. I just want to cry, you know. It's like,
the one thing that they never talk about in the rule books or anything like that is the spectators of the game, because most of the time they're thinking this 4 or 5 people playing, but oftentimes there's someone who's actually in the peripheries, standing around, etc. So it's a spouse or a child or someone who's not there all the time in the game, but they're being exposed to the game. And when you have just the dry erase map and all the papers and everything, when there's a whole bunch of papers on the table and lots of dice and everyone's writing things down, from an outside perspective, that doesn't seem very exciting. That seems like you're writing legislation for the government. And so it doesn't have that entertainment value to it. Whereas if, as Scotty said, if you've got terrain down there, people will stop and people will want to know what it is, what's going on. How do I get to play and move the guy around and say that I want to hit the big goblin or the small ogre or whatever, however you've done it.
Well, it's how he got me into it, because he was doing papercraft stuff, and that's was like, wait, you craft?
Yeah.
The visuals really add to it. They really add to it. And so, you know, those are a couple things that you can do. Like, okay, I want to address John's point about getting burned out. It's like, as I've grown as a crafting DM, you know, not just a regular DM, but as crafting, because there's a whole different component to adding that in, right? You're kind of like, you know, you're like, oh, I got to get this down, and I got to keep this stats in my head, and I got the story's going on, and I got to get this character thing in there right now, and this and that. You know, you got a million things going on in your head, and you're doing. Yeah, I mean, it's even crazier being the DM, but it's fun, you know. And so what I try to do to relieve some of that pressure is the community has really gone for the modular stuff. Like, we're going more and more modular, and and that's really the way to go. Not just storage wise, but utility wise. You can reuse stuff so easily. If you make it the more modular stuff that you make, the easier you can reuse it. And and like's been said, you know, like DMG was saying, you know, you can make stuff that's specific, but try to make, if you make more generic stuff, you can kind of add your own description to it, and it becomes that, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, say you put a table down that doesn't have anything on it. You didn't put any little potions or maps or anything on it. Say you put a table down, you could say that becomes a placeholder, like DMG said, that, you know, the players will remember to look at it or whatever. You could say, oh, there's stuff on the table, and then tell them what it is when they go there. And you know, if you have a potion and a map and all this stuff, they might say, oh, well, I want to take that potion and map with me. Oh, sorry, there's no potion and map on the table.
Yeah.
There's just a dead turkey or whatever. You know, it's like, it's like, then you got to backpedal and say, oh, that's not really, the stuff model on there is not really on the table, you know. So it's almost better to go the you know, the less version than to have the more stuff, you know. And you can make special tables for special encounters, but I would say build that generic stuff first. Get that generic set first, because you can always build little extra things if you have the time to go with it. You know what I'm saying? So that helps you from going insane. That helps you from going craft insane. Also, you don't need to build out everything. Like, I don't, for some small dungeons or caverns or things, I might put out the whole thing or build it out. But most of the time, I just theater the minded. If they're just walking through tunnels or whatever, you don't have to put every tile down, you know, unless it's important for some reason. You know, and then what I do is, if a counter does say they're walking through the tunnels and an encounter happens, then you could put that section of the tunnel down, or the you know, the hallway and the trap or whatever. You don't have to map, you know, you don't have to put all that stuff out. So I think keep that in mind. Like, I ran, for an example, I ran this castle encounter. It was a huge castle, and I would be in the same boat that Nathan was in, where he's still building the castle. You know, and it's going to be, his friends are going to be 60 by the, like DMG said, by the time he gets the castle done. So it was like that situation, right? It's a huge castle. It's like, so what I did is I just copied the map out of the book, okay? Because there's really not much detail in the map, at least in the newer 5e stuff. It's kind of like, oh, there's the shape of the rooms, but that's it. So I printed up the castle map, because you can see the shape of the castle, right? You're standing outside the castle, you're inside the courtyard, you can see what shape, you can see there's a tower there and a tower there and a building there, whatever. So I just printed that out, and the players could say, oh, we want to go here or go here or go here. And I didn't have to put every single piece of terrain down for that. You know, if it's not important, I could just explain what happened or describe the space that they went to. And if it was important, like a combat, I could throw down, you know, those reusable tiles, throw a few things in there that were in there, and then you're good to go. You know, like I had an example, I had like a courtyard battle going on. I just threw a couple of my mats down, and a little bit of terrain, scatter terrain. They got ambushed, and one of the players found this secret door, and that was to this tower, and they managed to finally get in, but what they messed up, and they fell inside or something, and it closed up on them. So I had to quickly build this out. So I just, you know, it took me like, you know, I took a few minutes to do it. You know, I stopped the action, took a few minutes, and, you know, with that modular stuff saved me. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I didn't have everything built out for this castle. Yeah. Because you would have to have like 10 tables of stuff, you know, set up pre-game, and you know what I'm saying? So it really helps to have the modular stuff. So if you're going to build, do that first. Really do that stuff first.
There's also a flip side to it, whereas if you put something down, the players are going to want to interact with it. So if you put down a table that has potions on it, but you don't mean there to be potions there, the players are going to, but there are potions there.
That's when you build the DM Scotty table with the interchangeable tabletops.
So I have to be conscious of that. If you put it there, if you just randomly put down a cupboard, they're going to search the cupboard. Even though you're just putting it down there for sort of the look of the room, they will want to find out what's in that cupboard. So then you've got to make up that stuff and, you know, do all that sort of thing. And then they may get bogged down because they may think that the cupboard is there to hide the secret passage, and then they're smashing the cupboard to try to get to the secret passage. Trust me, this is what I've got players like that. I put something in there, they know it's important. Even so the number of empty rooms to go into, like, why is this room empty?
Because you're breaking all the furniture.
That's right, because you smash all the furniture. I mean, my one player Al, if you've watched my games on 70 system, he's played in a few of them, but invariably he burns the dungeon down somehow. Just
Sitting there with a lighter.
Oh, I love it.
Just one of these big long ones so you can reach across the table.
So have we had any questions in the chat?
There has been a few. Let me scroll back here. Most people are talking about Discord, using that for online gaming.
Yes.
That works better than like Google Hangouts and that.
Yeah, because you can see everybody all at once, which is a big plus.
The one online game that I played, we used Discord in that, and it worked actually pretty well. So I don't really know anything else to compare it to. But I've dealt with Hangouts enough, and I can imagine that it could be better.
It's also very good. I mean, I use that normally for this, and I use it on 70 system as well, which is a peer.in. It's easy to set up. That's the only reason I do it. So when people are joining in, it's not, I don't have to explain 500 things to them. I haven't used the Discords. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but I would assume it might be, the key thing is being simple to set up, and Hangouts is a little bit complicated.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Edward Cassiano is 1 week new into the crafting, so we'll welcome him.
Yes.
He's about to go.
Rabbit hole.
There's a rabbit hole and a half.
When is
These are your
number,
enablers.
Yes.
there's a question for you, DMG. When is Craftonomicon number 2 coming out?
Oh.
My wife has actually been working on it. It was supposed to be finished at the end of last year. And she's had a whole bunch of tests and things for university and things that she has to finish. So in text form, it's finished, but we've got to do all the layout and everything like that. So we're on holiday for 2 weeks now. So it'll probably be end of February, March that it'll be coming out. And if you don't know what that is, you can go to dmg.info/store, and the original Craftonomicon is there.
I was people were asking about the links to the channels too. I was trying to post the link to the Tabletop Crafters Guild in the chat, but it won't post for some reason.
No, you have to.
You're not a moderator on that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So if you go to the Tabletop Crafters Guild website, it has everybody you see on here has their channels on it. So
Yeah,
that's a great place to go to find everybody's channel.
Plus like another 30.
Yeah.
What's more?
We want to have a
there's
central
like
hub where everybody can find those channels, and that's the place to go.
This week, I haven't written. I should have written them down because I subscribe to everybody. So because I want to find out who's doing what and steal their ideas.
Don't steal mine; you'll burn down your shop.
That's right. So yeah, and if I haven't put you on that list and you're new, I didn't do it on purpose. I either forgot or I didn't know that you existed. So please send me a message on Facebook or on YouTube or to one of the admins on the Facebook group, and I will definitely put you on there. And that's for channels that are tabletop crafting for role-playing games. So if you've got a channel that's about UFC, it's not for that.
Interesting. And they craft from the octagons all day.
Oh my god.
Using grading for the netting. There a guy
thinking of it.
I got this.
When Rock had that octagon room with the that's what I thought he was doing. He was building a UFC fight.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to bring up, just that I've noticed here recently, with a lot of the new crafters coming into the group, is how much wider the genre spread has gotten. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing a lot of wargaming, mechs, Gundam. I mean, it's expanding, and it's so cool to watch people interact. Someone who's used to making sewer tiles and dungeons, talking about techniques with a guy who builds, giant mechs and ruins cityscapes. And it's really cool to watch because it's just like this total collaboration of styles and how to do different effects and everything else. And I've learned a lot, even from some of these guys who are like, this is my first time crafting. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's like, I don't think
Are you
so.
sure you haven't been making and selling terrain for the last 30 years? That's pretty good.
A lot too.
Yeah, that was, I think I know who you're talking about, and that was just amazing.
Yeah.
Moonfire Crafts.
Surgery before.
What was that?
Lost.
Okay. Moonfire Crafts is starting a YouTube channel to share their love of the craft and wonder if there are any pitfalls you think they should try to avoid.
Be ready for the time. You have to be ready for the time to put into it.
We should all say a pitfall.
It's a time consumer. It's not just making the craft, it's editing the videos and making sure everything's safe to share, especially get it monetized. So
a 10-minute video will take you 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
Easily.
And then another
video a day, that's 4 or 5 hours a day.
Yeah.
If you're going to put out a video a week, it's 4 to 5 hours a week.
Yep.
You're going to put out
adding on what V said, it's like now when I do a craft, I feel I have to record it. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to do a craft without recording it. And that can really expand your craft time considerably.
Yes,
so
it does. Yeah.
There are many things I've made that I wish I'd recorded. So
right. I don't want to be in that boat.
My list of videos to make is 800 long. And I'm on 135. So, I could sit down in a month and make all that stuff, but then to film it, put it, I couldn't do it. It's a full-time job. It literally is a full-time job.
Yeah.
That is probably the biggest complaint that I always do is, it's easy to make the craft and do that. That time you can justify how long it's taken. What you don't realize is how long the editing process takes, and getting everything all together. It's a lot of work. A lot of people don't understand how much work we put into these things.
And because you're not just a video where you're like, oh, this is my opinion, and it's just a camera on you, and you're saying your opinion, and I'm done. I put the head credit in the tail, and I'm done. Yay, that was fun. 15
Those
minutes
look
for
nice.
me. It's like. Yeah, you're right, man. You have to shoot all of that. You have to edit it together. You don't want to have it real time. You want to cut stuff out because it'd be like hours of watching you craft one thing. So it's like, stuff has to dry. Yeah. Or something doesn't work out how you thought, and you made. I've had crafts where I started to do it and it just didn't work, and then I didn't. You don't finish it or whatever. So there's that too. But the biggest advice I think I would give is don't. If you're going to do it, the thing is to keep doing it. Okay.
Yes.
If you decide to do it, a lot of people are like, oh, like John said, it's a lot of work. They like do 4 or 5 videos. And they're like, damn, this is a lot of work. I'm done with this. Or I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll do it next week. And then you never make another video. So it's like, you got to keep at it. If you're going to do it, you got to do it. That's the first, even if your videos aren't great, like I cringe at my first videos. Even if your videos aren't great, it's like, I'm just like, God.
Please.
You say that.
We all got them.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Right.
So, it's not, you may cringe at it, but the ideas that are in there are just, changing literally. So yes, you cringe at that, but it's marvelous stuff. It's really, really good. And the other thing I wanted to add to is, Scott, you said there's things that you've done where you've made mistakes and you just basically stopped crafting it. There's been a few of those that I actually just continued shooting and put it up anyway. And one of the best examples of that was the cobblestone roller. I wanted to use another material and I couldn't find it. And I didn't know if anybody else would be able to get it, but I wanted to put the concept out there of doing the roller to do the cobblestones. And that video, there's lots of dislikes and people saying this is rubbish, how it doesn't look good. I still like the way it looks personally. I think I actually prefer it to a lot of other things, but that's my personal opinion. But the comment section is where all the people said this is how you can improve upon it. And that's what's important from a community standpoint, is that the idea works. It may need different materials or whatever. And so for me, it's like, okay, it may not be the best craft in the world. I'm going to put it out there anyway, because people are going to be able to build on this, because they'll see this and they'll think of another way they can use the same technique to do something else, which is what Lee said. These crafters coming in who are doing Gundam and all these kind of things. You're seeing a completely different way of doing something. And then you can apply that to what it is that you're doing. I mean, I see that in John's live streams. When he's doing certain things, I'll be looking, okay, well, I never even thought of doing it that way. Yeah. And he will do something some way with, the thatch roofs, that I really liked what she did there, and so, that's important that even if it doesn't work out, that you still put it out there, because the idea can be built upon. And if the idea is lost and no one sees the idea, then it can't grow. It's literally lost.
Yeah. Well, and that's what the groups are great for, though, because when you have people who are in process and stuck,
yeah,
and you share and you get feedback, and it helps people just kind of bring it back into where they need to go as opposed to where they thought they were going to go. Those are invaluable because of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love the live streaming too.
The problem for us as the larger creator channels is for us to what we are working on, you're giving away the thing that people are going to watch the video for.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not saying you need to reveal all your secrets, but I'm saying for the people who just come in to share in process as they're getting to learn the channel and everything like that, it's great for that reason.
Absolutely.
Because if you're trying to learn how to do YouTube and trying to get your craft going, you get a little overwhelmed sometimes.
We do have a group for crafting content creators called the Crafting Content Creator Support Network on Facebook. It's a closed group, so you just have to tell us which channel you are. And we talk about how to build your audience. We find out who you are, what you want to do. We give you advice. We, have a look at my video I haven't put out yet, and, this is what you can change, or this is what you may want to work on, etc.
Curtis.
Curtis.
If you are looking to, or you have started a channel, you should join that group. So, A, we know who you are, and B, you can also add to the conversation to help us all grow.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Curtis. How are you?
I am wonderful. Very glad to be here. Thanks for having me, you guys. Thanks for letting me in. This is the Cool Kids Club.
Oh, Cool Kids.
Thanks for joining us.
Who did send that invite? We're talking about.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, there we go.
For those of you guys who don't know, that's Curtis with Horizon Creations 3D. He is an amazing 3D printing artist. Works with a lot of people, makes a lot of stuff for gamers.
Gorgeous stuff, yeah.
He's got an amazing love for the craft and the games. So
I love you all. That's all there is to it.
We love all the people.
Yeah.
Hey, and you know what? After I kind of jumped up on that soapbox a couple days ago, I want to see some things change. I really do, and I want to see all of us make it better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about basically everyone being friendly to one another and sharing ideas. That's
it. That's absolutely it. Heck, within the last 3 days, I've been absolutely flooded by individuals messaging me saying, "Hey, I saw your video. Do you think you could help me?"
Yeah.
and I've spent many hours on the phone here in the US with actual phone calls with people explaining how I did it, how I would do it differently, how I'd really recommend you don't do it. Between machinery, between setup, all of those different aspects, I'm just, if I know something that might help somebody, I don't want to hold it to myself. I want to put it out there. But I think it's really important. And watch. What? Kai's in your way tough, dude. We're all here, all right? We share
It's
the
life,
space.
sweetie.
Hello.
That's how it works.
Yeah, I've got you guys right here on my headset, so they're completely like there's no audio for them.
Yeah, like, what are you saying?
Yeah, but no, I mean, I've always felt very strongly about the community and making sure that if somebody comes in and acts like a complete D-bag towards any producer, artist, or something, if it's uncalled for, we need to go back them up 110%. And I've seen each and every one of you guys do that.
Yeah.
So I'm not here to preach to you guys by any means. But,
it's the others. Don't understand.
My good buddy Chad, he's over. He's hanging out with me today. He's in many of the groups with all of us, and he comes over and hangs out in the shop often. He's a 40K player. He's a crafter. I met him through my company, and I was lucky enough to be local to where he is, and he's over here chilling on my couch right now. So you might hear him heckling a couple things every once in a while. I've got a couple other people coming by this evening too, a couple with their 2 kids, and we're all going to sit back, have some dinner, enjoy some toys, and just, hang out, enjoy. But I really wanted to pop on here and just say hi. And I want to make more of a presence known because I'm obviously really good at getting people's attention.
Yes.
I'll be honest. I feel like in ways that I bit off a little bit more than I should have, but I think I can chew it just fine. I really do. Everybody saw my first, my second, and my third most recent videos. Life gets really difficult at times, you guys. Like, holy shit. But I can say this right now. If it wasn't for the community...
It's true. The community, you have a group of cheerleaders without even realizing it. So you can have the absolute worst day in some other realm of your life. And all you have to do is go to this one group, this one area, and you put something out there, and you have people making you smile, making you laugh, making you feel wanted and included. And it's just, it's incredible. I have never met a community where everyone's just like, hey, come over here and let's party. I mean, that's literally the mentality.
And that's
it's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, you get a couple of wackadoos, but
it's actually
they get
different from the community of role players. The greater the community of role players, there's like all this acid between people who play different versions and whatever. It's not like you're a person who makes Wylock tiles. How dare you even put in the...
No.
Yeah, we don't have the version wars. It's not like, oh, you make Wylock tiles. I hate those tiles.
No, we beg to be thrown into another rabbit hole. Tell me more so I can buy it.
Yeah, it's like, we don't have that, and I'm always trying to foster that. And all I ask of people is just treat the people like they're in front of you. You're like speaking to them. Yes. Not that there's some number on the internet or whatever, that it's like a person that you're having a conversation with, a real person. Yeah. And I think the communities, for the most part, has maintained that.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason the 4 of us banded together as the Tabletop Crafters Guild, and then inclusive of the wider community, is because we're friends.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I'll be honest. I really want to take a second and say, for one, Scotty, you, sir, I love you, man. You rock. All right. John, I know exactly who you are. I love you, bro.
Oh.
Vanessa, you you are an inspiration. All right, I love seeing your posts on a regular basis. I've seen them for ages, and I'll be straight up. I don't know offhand who DM you, gentlemen, right here. I'm looking at you.
DM Insomnia or DM?
Yeah, no,
Lee.
I know Lee.
Lee.
I know Lee. White earbuds.
Oh, God, that's awkward.
There, yeah, the white earbuds. I honestly, I don't know who you are.
Well,
I want to know who you are. If you're with these guys, you're good people.
People make you laugh.
I'm posting this thing.
Okay, great. You know, I'm gonna send you a friends list request. But yeah, I've been part of this community for several years, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I came kind of out of left field doing what I do, and I didn't get lucky. I didn't. It is a lot of freaking work, and anybody thinks it's luck is sorely mistaken. They won't make it for a second. But I've always been part of the community, and I've also always tried to keep my head down and stay low, and do my best to come in. Hey, I know those guys. More people coming in. Awesome. Oh, there's one kid. There's at least another kid and two really big kids coming behind them somewhere. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. Heading for the bathroom, I think.
Party at Chris's house.
Hey, you guys can come on over anytime.
Sure,
My
give me
door's
about
open to my friends.
an airplane ride.
Right? How far away are
Right,
you?
that's it. California.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Nope,
That's what.
Come in, come in.
You're right.
Right?
What's
It's
up,
almost like this is
Robert?
your life, but this is his life.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
And
know,
that's what's cool is-
it's so good to be part of everybody. We can all be part of each other's lives. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
in
great.
fact,
At night or in the morning, and the last thing I do at night is dealing with people in this group.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
you know, I went through my fair share of marriage stuff, and I've been kind of shut off for the last 6 months to a solid year, where it was slowly dropping until you guys saw the entire face first on the concrete, skid, road rash, whole 9 yards. And it completely proved to me that I have no business keeping to myself. None whatsoever. Same with you guys. You're out in the community. It's because it's what you do. It's what you're good at. It's how you can pay back to all the people that have gotten you where you are. It's time for me to step up and, for one, figure out my technical issues with being very anti-tech. I know I'm a 3D print guy saying that I hate computers.
I love it.
I can barely run my PC. All right, I can't program my VCR. You know, my kitchen appliances, the blinky lights. I don't deal with it. But when it's the printers, I can put those together and tear them apart in my sleep. Absolutely. And I want to share everything and anything I can with, especially you guys, but everybody that's not somebody that wants to be somebody or has aspirations of providing a service to the community. Do it. Fucking do it.
Yep.
Stop questioning yourself. Be decisive, be direct, and move with purpose. Put every foot in front of the other and just keep pushing. When you get heckled, enjoy it because you're doing something right. There's somebody out there that will take the time to tell you how horrible your stuff is. Well, guess what? Your stuff is only horrible because it caught their eye. If you didn't catch their eye, they wouldn't have even taken the time to call you shit.
Right.
Exactly.
If they call you shit,
And a lot of,
they're probably jealous.
and that's
They're
just it.
probably
Those are more a
concerned.
reflection of them than it is of you, quite frankly. And when you learn that, it gets so much easier. It gets so much easier.
One way or another, if they like it or dislike it.
When you see a dislike on your video, you know you've made it.
That's right. When you see one within 30 seconds of posting it.
Oh my God, those are hysterical.
Right. I know I have
It's
people.
like saying,
Oh,
theme
Scotty
song,
put a
great.
video up there. I got to dislike it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
most dislikes their channel has ever seen, because I just fake rant about just
It's actually DMV doing it.
500 comments in the first 4 hours or something.
Damn.
Because it doesn't matter whether it's like or dislikes, it's all about engagement, right? That's
Exactly. Yep. Get it moving.
so you're getting the community talking about something, and then of course people who know who I am were just like riling up the audience because they knew exactly what I was doing. So then it was like, oh yeah, well you don't, blah blah blah, and you know, but you know, it's all about engagement. And if someone doesn't like what you do, and I mean, we have the dislike fairy who dislikes every single video the four of us put out, right?
She's branching out too.
Apparently, yeah.
They're a subscriber. Every time the video comes out there, within the first few hours, there's a dislike on the video.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you put out. You put out a blank. I put out a blank video as a test. Still got a dislike. You know.
Yep.
I love that person because they're giving me watch time. They're taking the time to actually wait for me to put out a video. They're taking the time and the effort to actually click dislike. They are my best subscriber. I love them.
Most interactive.
They are bringing people to my video because people want to know how come the dislikes. It's like
How could you dislike this video? I got to watch the whole thing. What happened?
That's right. I mean, I don't know if they watch the whole video and then press dislike. If they do, then more power to them. Keep doing it. But even if they just watch for 1 second and click dislike, it's actually adding to what they're doing.
Yeah.
It doesn't work against you in any way, shape.
They're like, yeah. It's the TMZ version of reaction for us. It's like, great, thanks.
All publicity is good publicity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what it boils down to.
We've hit the hour mark, and I'm down to like 10% battery on my phone.
We need to stop.
$2,000. But thank you everyone for joining us. People in the chat, sorry if there were more questions and we didn't get to them because I couldn't see the chat, unfortunately. This live stream is every month on the 4th Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You're welcome to join us. Normally, you can just call in. So that will come back next month. So I urge you to join us in. If you'd like this video, like the button. Be sure to subscribe and to click the bell so you can receive notifications when new videos.
Yep.
And thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget the Guild Build Craft Off. There will be a video coming out on that in the next day or so. Thank you once again. See ya.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.